The Alarm NBA DFS show with Jon Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, everybody? Jon Impemba here, not with James Grande, but our guy Sean Mitchell making his NBA DFS playbook show debut. Of course, you know Sean from our Discord, from the pages of Fantasy Alarm. Of course, you also know him on Twitter. Sean, what, S Mitchell 17? I think you got over on Twitter over there. So you can give him a follow if you haven't done so already. Sean's going to be on the Wednesday playbook, so we figured why not bring him on today to preview, give our first look, our first impressions, our first take here on this 10-game main slate. My dude, you've been having a heck of a season so far. You've been killing it over on Underdog with the Battle Royal drafts. You've obviously been seeing all of your screenshots and all that in the Discord, and of course, obviously the DFS content you've been doing over at Fantasy Alarm. How are you feeling about everything, man?
Feeling good. Like I said, I finally had a nice little stretch there where just seemed like everything that I was plugging was kind of turning to gold there for a second. You know, you get in those little hot streaks where you have a couple of good days. You know, it's almost those ones where you kind of go to bed at night, you're not so worried. And the funny thing is, like the night that I got second, like I was cashing like $10 when I went to bed. So I wake up and, you know, I look and there's like $4,400 and I'm like, wait, what happened? You know? So yeah, you know, it's just, you know, you get in those hot streaks, you got to manage it because, you know, you're going to turn cold eventually. Like right now, I'm right back off. I'm like, okay, well, trying to, you know, get a cash on a slate. And, but, you know, you got the little extra padding, so it's all good. But yeah, man, it's been fun getting getting the ride again for Fantasy Alarm. That's been a great. It's been fun again. It's kind of rejuvenated those senses that I had, you know, whenever I was riding before. So it's good. It's fun, man. I'm glad
it's awesome having you back. Obviously, super sharp mind. You know, James and I love to. You know, we always love breaking down strategy, selection, contest strategy. You bring oftentimes make me rethink some of the things that I got going on for the better, not for the worse. You know, when it comes to lineup construction there. So certainly appreciate having you back in the fold with us here. Let's get into it here. Again, we got 10 games to talk about. We are even getting some early injury news already out, which is always a great thing. Giving a quick first look at the slate when it comes to some game totals, we have a Charlotte-Indiana matchup. Of course, the Pacers always involved in high total games here. Pacers are home, giving 10.5, but that's a 248.5 game total. We have Knicks and Brooklyn, 1 point spread in that game, 233.5. Denver, Toronto's a 229.5. Atlanta, Houston sitting at 235.5. Houston is a 3-point home favorite there. Clippers and Dallas. Dallas is a 2.5 point home dog with a 238 game total. And then Boston, Sacramento, no current total, though. That means we do have Boston on the second leg of a back-to-back here on this slate. They're in Golden State on the Tuesday slate. Trying to quickly check. Do you have any other back-to-backs? Doesn't look like it. Looks like it's just Boston that's going to be on the second leg of the back-to-back here. So quick first impressions. Like, what do you make of the Pacers this season and all these like crazy high game totals that they've been involved in?
They just play it just an insanely crazy fast pace, you know, and I didn't really get a good look at them, you know, until the in-season tournament because they were on TV, you know, every night almost during the in-season regular tournament, which, you know, made it to the finals of and you know, played very, very, very well. Lakers just kind of stepped it up just a little bit. Their Lakers defense, man, has been extremely good. But back to the Pacers, like I said, you know, Halliburton has been excellent. He had a crazy stretch of good games, which he's kind of came back down to earth. I think he's kind of dealing with maybe possibly a little injury, kind of banged up. You know, it seems like everybody kind of played really hard all through the in-season tournament. Now we're seeing just tons of injuries and illnesses, and so maybe that's a little bit of aftermath from having the in-season tournament, like right at the first of the season. I don't know, maybe they should have broken it out a little bit more towards the middle and, you know, or kind of like the first quarter of the season halfway and kind of maybe ended it in the third quarter maybe so it didn't just kind of hit them all at once. But, you know, nonetheless, the Pacers are just playing with an insanely fast pace. They're just stretching the floor. They're getting it up and down, transition, and they're just catching people off guard, and they're winding them really quick unless they're playing another team like the Bucks or something who they even get, you know, teams like that in the top five of pace. But no, Pacers are extremely young. They're well coached, and they're just
Listen, I agree with you. When the in-season tournament, I was skeptical to see how hard these teams were going to go, and we got legitimate playoff rotation basketball in the in-season tournament. Short benches, starters playing 40 minutes, and you're right. Now we're seeing some of these guys come out of it with either illnesses, questionable statuses, missing some time. So I agree with you. It'd be interesting to see sort of if they reevaluate any of that, or maybe some of these teams reevaluate, how much they wanted. I mean, listen, we all must appreciate the banner raising ceremony that the Lakers did for their in-season tournament championship. But what's the overall importance if at the end of the year your guys aren't there because they got worn down a little bit by a 2-week, 3-week tournament there. Interesting spot just seeing the Pacers there against Charlotte. Charlotte missing a whole bunch of guys the other night. We'll have to follow up on their injury statuses as we move along. But let's get into it. Let's move over to the point guard position here. Luka Doncic is your $12,200 DraftKings guard at the top, at home against the Clippers. Nice game total, 2-point spread there. Halliburton home against Charlotte as a big favorite. Trae Young on the road against Houston at $10,500. Then we have Donovan Mitchell, Point Donnie out here at $10K against Utah.
His old team,
top 4 price guys here. How would you go about ranking them if you had to prioritize one for cash or one for tournaments? Which way would you go about it?
I mean, obviously, I think Luka is just, I hate to say he's unfadable at this point because the guy's just playing extremely well. No Kyrie still. There's really nobody else on that team that's really kind of, Tim Hardaway Jr. is another guy that has played well in kind of Kyrie's absence, but there's really nobody else on that team that can just kind of take over the team and take some usage away from Luka. There's nobody that can do it. So, I know he's kind of getting into that Russell Westbrook, way back a couple, 3-4 years ago when he was averaging a triple-double. Yeah, still 13K or whatever on like a 12-game slate. And you had to play him because you knew that he was just going to go off every single night. So, this one is probably I hate to say it's a tougher matchup, but it is. I mean, the Clippers actually have a really solid defense. They're a slow-paced team. But, he does get them at home. So that's kind of a factor there. But nonetheless, like I said, there's still no Kyrie. The guy's got like nearly 40% usage rate. It's really hard not to like him on any slate. I mean, even under 13,000. I mean, I know his price is as high as it's been. So, Luka is that one that you just kind of look at. Halliburton, I'm not, like I said, he's had 3 down games now, 38 fantasy points or less. I know that, you and James talked about it here on a couple of shows before. Charlotte's not really playing with that pace that they were playing with LaMelo. They're not seeing that same amount of possessions. They're not getting up and down the floor as much. Rozier's being more of a Luka Doncic in his own, not to near the level. But Rozier's kind of the one playing the LaMelo role now, and he's just not as fast. He doesn't really get up and down the floor as much. So we think that slows the Pacers down a little bit? I don't know. But, Halliburton being nearly 11K and not putting up those 60-pointers like he was during the in-season tournament and right thereafter, it's kind of hard to kind of pay that price for that. Trae Young been playing extremely, extremely well. He's put up numerous 55, 60-pointers here lately. Obviously, I think he could probably be a good close second there to Luka Doncic. And then Donnie. I mean, Utah's been playing good even with having tons of injuries on their side. They got Kessler back now. Colin Sexton's been playing really well at the point guard spot. Donnie at home, without Garland, without Evan Mobley, he's kind of been the guy. And I mean, obviously he was the guy beforehand, but I think you go Luka, Trae, and then
Mitchell for me.
Luka just a little bit higher.
Yeah, I think for me, maybe Mitchell a little bit over Trae just for the price point, because I think this matchup really is a great spot for Donovan Mitchell here at home. It's nothing to take away from Trae Young the way he's been playing, but on the road against Houston, obviously a little bit of a tougher matchup. I think I trend more towards Mitchell there, and I agree with you. I think Luka Doncic is the clear cut. I have Mitchell too, and I'm probably going to fade Halliburton because it's not only just the game totals, but like you mentioned, the recent production there feels like it hasn't been at the top price there. When we rock our way down into the mid tier, De'Aaron Fox is $9,600, gets the Boston team here on a back-to-back. Tyrese Maxey at $9,100 playing the Robinson Joel Embiid Batman there in Philly. Aforementioned Terry Rozier still not cracking the 9K price point. Continues to be good value here. And then James Harden, 2 of the last 3 slates, the man has gone absolutely nutty. 28, 15, and 7 against Golden State. I think that was the game where Paul George sat. 35 and 9, though, against the Pacers in 28 minutes. Hit those dagger threes at the end of the game. I mean, are we supposed to be jumping on the Harden train right now?
Yeah, I mean, he had 24 points, I think, in the fourth quarter alone. I mean, the guy just literally went nuke. I mean, it's, again, Dallas plays very fast. This should be a pace-up spot for the Clippers. I don't hate it at all. But I do think playing Terry Rozier at $100 more kind of intrigues me a bit more because he just, Harden did just play Indiana. And, we saw Trae Young put up a massive game against Indiana. We've seen so many point guards just put up absolutely massive games against this Pacers team because of the pace and also because they're just banged up, man. They're just not healthy. They're not fully healthy. Miles Turner is dealing with hamstring injuries now. They're not fully healthy, but they're still playing with the same pace. They're still playing that same quick speed. They're all young guys. So with that said, Rozier is just, his usage rate is massive right now without LaMelo. Gordon Hayward's dealing with injuries. He was out last game. So, they're also a team that's played with injuries. So Rozier at this price point, I think he's just almost too good to pass up at this point, even on the road, playing, in this game with this big.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you. Again, I agree with you. I think people might be finding themselves playing hard and kind of riding the recent run. But looking at Rozier this year, with LaMelo Ball off the floor, he's been an absolute animal. I mean, on the season, just in general, here without LaMelo, a 28% usage rate on the season. When it comes to fantasy points per minute, without LaMelo Ball on the floor, it's at 1.2. And I'm sure if I kind of even broke that down a little bit more to like the last, 2 weeks or so, it might even be, a bit more impressive. Let's just do the month of December here. For Terry Rozier, the month of December, 28% usage rate there, 1.3 fantasy points per minute. So again, absolute steal, still not cracking the 9K price point, coming off 43 fantasy points in that loss. What I also love about Charlotte is their guys generally just play minutes. Now, I understand 32 minutes last time actually feels a little bit low in a game they lost, but this guy plays 40 and 39 minutes almost on a night-to-night basis. You're going to give me 39 minutes against the Pacers. Yeah, I'm with you. Right. Rozier feels like a great spot there. And
I mean, Harden, he does also have to tend to Kawhi Leonard, to Paul George. Even Zubac has played well lately. So, Rozier pretty much has a team to himself.
The lower 8K range, you have Jalen Brunson against Brooklyn again, a close game, high total there. Fred VanVleet shattered the slate yesterday. Nobody was on him. He was less than 1% rostered and goes out there and gives us a 27, 8, and 17 matchup here. Now, he has a huge pace-out spot. Houston, one of the slowest paced teams in the league, going up against Atlanta here. So that's kind of an interesting spot if you think, maybe point chasing, but 48 and 41 fantasy points in the 2 games prior. So maybe Fred VanVleet's just starting to heat up a little bit there. Kobe White has been as hot as anybody with Zach LaVine off the floor. 50, 47, 56, 41, 49 fantasy points. And the matchups really haven't been that great. Denver, Miami, Philadelphia, all on the road, and he's doing that. If you were to cover the face and just look at the stats, you probably wouldn't shudder to think paying $8K for the guy. Thoughts there on VanVleet and Kobe White in this low 8K range?
I really like FVV. I mean, again, Atlanta's kind of like Indiana here, very, very fast pace, and point guards have been kind of playing really well against them. Trae Young, we already know, is not exactly known for his defense. That's actually the worst part of his game. So, Fred VanVleet, the only kind of thing that pulls me away is the fact that his home road splits are insane. And he's only played one more home game, but he's only averaging nearly 37 fantasy points there in home games, nearly 45 in away games. So his home and road splits are pretty nutty there. Don't really love that. I don't know if that's the fact that Houston plays really well at home. I know that's just kind of one of their things. They
playing 4 less minutes per game at home, right? So
exactly, and probably due to a lot of blowouts. Slower pace. They get to control the pace, play the tempo. But, again, whenever they've got a team like Atlanta who's top 7 pace, you got to think that there should be a pace-up spot there. But Kobe White, yeah. I mean, I don't love fading the Lakers, especially in the guard spot. But Jalen Brunson had a good game, a decent game, I should say, last night, even in LA. It is doable. Kobe White is, like you said, you guys are playing extremely out of his mind. But I think if I had to choose one, I think I would probably just have to go with Van Fleet because, 71 fantasy points. Not saying he can reciprocate that, but if he can even get close, get the 60-pointer, and he's only $600 more, you kind of got to look at it that way.
Better matchup, and a guy that we've seen him have like that sort of pedigree. We've seen him be that guy with Toronto. He got off to a little bit of a slow start with Houston, but obviously, running through spurts of just ridiculous production. The Kobe White thing is funny. You and I, Sean, we both, dip our toes in the prop waters here. Kobe White has been crushing his PRA, his points and assists, his points and rebounds prop. Basically, anything you've chosen for Kobe White over the last month, I don't think he's missed yet. So I keep on checking to see what they keep bumping him up to see when eventually he'll miss, but it hasn't been yet. Spencer Dinwiddie coming off yet another big-time game. Again, Utah this time, 49 fantasy points for him. Back-to-back double-doubles for Spencer Dinwiddie. Now it's $7,700. Has that matchup against the Knicks. Knicks play very slow as well. Jamal Murray at 72. Colin Sexton up to $7,200 here as well in the low 7K range.
Yeah, I wonder like Colin Sexton. Cleveland's also a team that we generally don't like to play against guards, but, no Garland. Max Strus is still there, though. He's a really good defender. Dean Wade, is just kind of a tall
Karis
body.
LeVert's, coming off their bench still.
Karis LeVert's playing a ton of minutes off the bench. They're not there as defensively as they were with Garland. He was kind of a shutdown almost. So I really think the Sexton price, even though he bumped up a little bit, is still pretty intriguing here. The total's not too bad. We know that Utah has not been good defensively, so this could be more of that up and down game. I mean, we just saw Cleveland and I think it was Houston went for a pretty big total in their last game, which was a day or two ago. So, I was kind of surprised by the pace in that game because it was going back and forth there for a while. So Colin Sexton is kind of one that kind of jumps out to me. Dinwiddie, I don't love this spot because also Brooklyn is a kind of a slower paced team, and the Knicks come into town. They're really slow, as you mentioned. Downgrades him just a little bit for me, I think. In that
I agree with you. Just again, another guy on Brooklyn who goes through these spurts of just wild production. Cameron Thomas is a different animal in his own sense. I mean, the man will just go and knock down 40, 30 actual, and you're like, oh, well, of course it's Cam Thomas. But getting the recent production on Dinwiddie, maybe those assist numbers are the way they are because the last 2 games, Cam Thomas has gone for 42 and 31 actual. So Dinwiddie's just racking up assists on those plays there. Jamal Murray's at $7,200 here. Played 25 minutes in that game. Obviously, it was a blowout. Haven't seen him really crack 30 in a little bit. Any interest in the price point here against Toronto?
I don't believe so for that price. Toronto's a pretty decently good defensive team. And I know Schroeder, we still do like to exploit him when we can. He is probably the weak link on, in that.
They're so good everywhere else on the wing, right? With OG.
Exactly. They're so good everywhere else. And I don't know if they'll just kind of, I don't know. I don't really like the price point.
It's a middling price, I think, for me as well.
It is. It's one of those ones that I think is just too easy to scroll past.
I agree with you 100%. I kind of feel that way about sort of the rest of the group. I mean, if there's anybody sticking out to you as we work our way down the 6K range, like feel free to stop and like call them out. But I mean, I kind of looked my way through and it's, Holiday, Horton Tucker's got dual positional eligibility. He's coming off of a pretty good game. Exum continues to produce pretty well. Don't love Westbrook up to 64. Monk at 63, no. Schroeder, Conley, Anthony, like any of those guys to you appealing? It feels like they've all gotten their prices moved up lately.
I mean, honestly, I would just rather go down just one more and go to TJ McConnell in that price range. He's getting the starter run. I say that, he's still only playing 20 or so minutes, but he's such an impactful player. And, he just gets directly into the game and he doesn't really he's not a cardio guy. He's the floor general, and he gets in there. He's had 1 or 2 steals in almost every single game that he's had decent amount of minutes in. scoring right around 8 to 10 points, grabbing a few boards, and his assist numbers are what really sets him apart as him being that facilitator.
Yeah, if that game was more competitive, he may have seen more than the 20 minutes here. Andrew Nembhard being out, I think, can lend to him having a bit more of a role in the backup minute rotation there. And you're 100% right. Yeah. James and I talk about this all the time. For those of you who are maybe new to DFS or, just getting into it, we've been following TJ McConnell since he was on the 76ers back in the day. And, I mean, he would come in the game and be like, boom, boom, boom. He's filling up the stat sheet. And that's what you're getting here now. And if you ever find a spot where maybe like Bruce Brown or Mathurin or Hield, they find themselves in foul trouble, or they just want to give some extended run to McConnell in some competitive formats, he can really go ahead and break a slate. So tournament play, I think for sure, with McConnell there. Marco Fultz is out again. Cole Anthony, $6,100. The production sort of dipped a bit, but matchup against Cleveland, at Boston, not really the best spots to be productive. The minutes have really tooled down for him as well. So I don't really find myself looking to target that matchup all too much. Emmanuel quickly was the chalk play against the LA Lakers on a short slate, and he broke that slate at the price point. 29 fantasy points, 20 actual. A little bit of a price bump up for him now. When looking at this like 5K and under range, you find yourself looking at quickly. Gary Trent out of nowhere had a 22 and 10 double. I mean, price bump up for him. Is there anybody down here at 5K and under that you're looking at?
I do like quickly a little bit. He's kind of that lightning in a bottle type play. And if he's hitting shots, I know we talked about it in Discord, but the guy has to hit his shots. He's not going to really do a ton else. That's his biggest attribute, really, is his scoring. 52, that's just kind of where his price stays. So, if you just happen to get lucky and get one of these nights where he does go for 30 or 40 fantasy points, you're going to be sitting pretty. I would probably lend it towards more of a tournament play. I still think he's definitely worthy at 5,200 because, like you said, like looking down here at the bottom of this list, it gets pretty ugly pretty quick. And it feels like DraftKings has been that way this year. It feels like compared to last year, like there's not a ton of value plays on nearly every slate that we, it is generally just where something.
Yeah, it seems like seems like either they hired somebody to focus a bit more on NBA pricing, or their algos have just been tweaked enough. Because James and I talk about that a lot, especially now teams on second legs of back-to-backs. It seems like naturally everybody is bumped with the anticipation that maybe somebody sits out. We used to go weeks where a guy's price wouldn't get touched, and you're just hammering it over and over and over again. Now it's almost within a game or two, all of a sudden these guys are up $1,000. So it makes it good. It makes it a bit more competitive. So you're not just being able to chug out these like Jokic and Halliburton dual lineup because there's a bunch of 3K guys. It's seeming a lot more fair and balanced lineups being built out there. Moving on over to shooting guard positions, a lot of guys we've discussed already, but the dual positional eligibility. But Anthony Edwards is at 9K on the road against Philly here. Jaylen Brown, second leg of a back-to-back. We'll see how Boston handles that one. We know for sure Al Horford won't play, but Porzingis maybe finds himself re-entering the lineup after being ruled out on the Tuesday slate. Tyler Herro came back, played 33 minutes off the jump, 25 actual. It's like he didn't miss any time at all against the Orlando matchup at 88. DeJounte's 85. PG at $8,400 there. If we're looking at the 8K tier, and including Anthony Edwards, how would you prioritize some exposure?
Anthony Edwards is playing extremely well, albeit all of the external things that are going on.
Right, off the court, whatever. On the court, though, really good.
On the court, been playing extremely well. Obviously not the best of matchups there going into Philadelphia. Minnesota is a slower team. Philadelphia has actually been surprisingly a faster team. That could be a bit of a tougher matchup on the interior there for both sides. So Anthony Edwards easily could benefit from that. You got to know Joel Embiid down there. Rudy Gobert is probably not going to have just a ton of fun down there, and neither Karl Anthony Towns. So Anthony Edwards, I think, is totally fair. Jaylen Brown in Sacramento, because this is going to be a pace-up spot for Boston because Kings do actually play decently fast, and their defense is suspect at times. Brown's been putting up good games, so kind of seeing how the Celtics tend to go about that back-to-back on that second leg. albeit if there's any injuries or anything that happens tonight, obviously. But yeah, Tyler Herro, just wow. Didn't really expect him to play 33 minutes in his first game back. Missed how many games?
Well, missed over a month a game.
Yeah, I knew it was quite 18 game. 18 game. Okay. Yeah, missing 18 games. For some reason, I thought it was like 12 or 14. But yeah, 18 games, and he comes back first night, plays 30
10 of 18 shooting too. Like, did not miss a beat with the ankle injury there.
And he just jumped right into, probably, I didn't look at his usage rate, but I would have to imagine it's 27, 28, 29%. I mean, so that's hard not to lie.
Butler actually ruled out of this game already too. So
yeah, I didn't even think about that. So yeah, Tyler Herro is probably going to be my number one, even though it is Orlando. Orlando has been really good this year, even at home, especially at home. But given that kind of type of usage rate, getting that amount of shots up, he can rebound, he can dish dimes, he can shoot threes. So yeah, I mean, I think he's probably easy at his price at 88. I know it's not something you love, but I still think that he's probably the top play in the shooting guard.
Yeah, with Butler off the floor for sure, pulling up his overall usage rate on the season here with Butler off the floor. I think Bam is still back, so that impacts it a little bit. But with buckets off the floor this season, we see. Let's see where we got Tyler Herro. Herro has a 29.5% usage rate, over a fantasy point per minute. Doesn't really shock anybody there, I'm sure. Bam just below him as well. Bam a little bit more, 1.3 fantasy points per minute, but Herro is the guy taking all the shots in that situation. If not Herro for me, if I needed to find some money, I'm fully comfortable going with Paul George. I will have to see if he's in the lineup. He's currently listed as questionable with an illness. Obviously, if he is out, Norm Powell gets a nice little boost there in some value on this matchup here. But PG at 8,400, it's certainly looking pretty good. In the mid-tier of shooting guard, you have Austin Reeves, priced up to $7,600. We've talked Cameron Thomas here. Strus 66, Brandon Miller at 6,500, played 36 minutes in that game, 37 minutes. Didn't do much in that one, but tougher spot against Toronto, easier matchup against the Pacers. Mid-tier shooting guard for you, Sean.
Yeah, I like Brandon Miller. Obviously, if I haven't looked to see if Gordon Hayward, he's still questionable. So if he sits, obviously that's a big boost to him. And just the whole fact that Charlotte's still looking for more playmakers, looking for more scoring options. Miller, good young guard. Do like him quite a bit. Obviously, playing in that fast-paced, high-total game, have to really like that. Cam Thomas, like you mentioned, I think obviously, even though it is the Knicks, that's a good spot for him playing at home. Reeves, I'm not just overly enthused by his price, but the Lakers have played a really short rotation lately, and he's getting close to 27, 30 minutes a game. But at that price, you're basically getting him almost at a ceiling, I feel like. So I like Brandon Miller quite a bit in that kind of price range. Strus is really interesting. It's maybe a tournament play. He's getting good minutes, just not exactly getting the usage that for some reason he was putting up monster games earlier in the season.
I think it has to do with the fact that Donovan Mitchell less of a playmaker distributor
is back too. With LeVert being back and getting back into the mix, taking a lot of that usage that Strus was getting beforehand. Strus price is still up there, so doesn't really make you feel just all warm and tingly about taking him at nearly 6,600. So yeah, Brandon Miller I think is probably the more interesting one in that with his price.
I agree with you. I'm not really interested in chasing the THT game. I'm 11 of 19 shooting.
No.
I did have the Portland, obviously a better matchup there, but if Talon Horton-Tucker beats me again, then he beats me again. That's just kind of where I stand on those rounds. OG here at 63, Matherin at 63, Tim Hardaway at 62, LeVert's down here at 62. Duncan Robinson probably gets a little bit of a boost with Butler off the floor as well. So some pretty good candidates here in the low 6K range.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people will probably be off TH Jr. there because of the fact that he only played 22 minutes last game in that blowout at Denver, which is already a tough place to play in, especially as a shooting guard getting KCP defense. That was not going to be a good recipe. 12 fantasy points. The game before against he had a good game against Portland, 38, but before that against Minnesota, had
another tough matchup against Minnesota there.
Exactly, another tough matchup against a really slow good defense. So, yeah, I think this could be a good spot for Tim Hardaway Jr. Like you said, it's a good total. It's a nice pace-up spot for the Clippers. So I do like him there at that price. I think that's a very fair price. The other one that I was looking at a little bit, Duncan Robinson. Now, you said Jimmy Butler's out. I know we just talked about Tyler Herro. He did play 22 minutes. His price is still up there, but he only put up 30 fantasy points. Only shot 9 times. I think that probably goes up a little bit without Jimmy. So Duncan Robinson's definitely interesting there. Buddy Hield, who hasn't really done just a ton lately, but he's still getting the run. I mean, he's still getting 30 minutes a game. He's still starting. But other than that, I think in that range, I think that's really about all
I'm in agreement with you again. Jalen Suggs plays 28, 30 minutes. Right. Norm Powell, I generally like to play Norm Powell, anyways. I think he's really good off their bench. The minutes are generally pretty stable for him. The price is actually coming down a little bit here. And then if Paul George is out, Norm here feels like a really good spot. This is such a suspect line to me. Sam Hauser bumped up to $5,300, right? Now
I saw that, and that was because he had that big 30-point game or 35 fantasy points against Orlando, where he shot 3 of 6 from the 3-point, 4 of 8 from the field, had 7 rebounds from out of nowhere, 4 dimes, and 4 steals. I mean, the 4 steals is kind of what boosted his. Obviously the 3-pointers, but he shot 50%. But that price is kind of like
I wonder.
On the road against
that's what it is. The fact that the Celtics are on the back-to-back also, you see the price bump on the Celtics guys here. But do you also wonder if maybe Jaylen Brown sits out this game or Jason Tatum sits out this game or something like that? This Orlando game was the one where they didn't have Horford. I think this is the one where they didn't have Horford or Porzingis active. So they went super small, and Hauser played the 32 minutes. We know Horford's not playing on the back-to-back, but I guess we'll see what happens with Porzingis if they have to go double small again. And
maybe that's why they set Porzingis tonight is to play him tomorrow. On that injury management is what they call it before the cap. So
the Hauser price is not something I'm looking to play unless guys are ruled out. Josh Richardson played 26 minutes in that game. Do we have a Kyle Lowry injury status? Because he was out. Lowry's in this time around, so we didn't talk Lowry, but I don't really like $6,900 or $5,900 for him. That feels a little too much. But no Butler. Maybe we see a start for Richardson here, or it could be Jaquez. It could be Caleb Martin. Somebody's going to play for Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, and that's the hardest part about trying to play a secondary Miami guard is you don't know who's going to get the run, who's going to get the minutes. Jaquez has been playing extremely well too. Now that Hero's back, you don't know how that's going to, especially with Jimmy out now and Hero back, we don't really know how, Richardson definitely going to get minutes, but does he get 25? Right. Does he get 30? You just don't know. And again, it's Orlando. It is a tougher matchup. But Caruso is kind of, I know against the Lakers, but it is a revenge narrative. We love to talk those revenge narratives. Played 30 minutes last game, 26 fantasy points.
I like Caruso. When he's starting, I usually try to find some ways to get him in my lineup. Price isn't too hard to fit him in there either. He can give you defense, and there are nights where the shot does drop and you get the 30 points like it is. We're not going to chase the McGowan's game unless people are out again. Now that game had no Miles Bridges because he wasn't allowed into the country of Canada, and then Gordon Hayward got ruled out. If Hayward gets ruled out again, there is a good chance that McGowan's is the one that starts. But they could also go with the lineup that we saw where they had PJ Washington start at power forward. You could see Bridges actually start at the 3, Miller start at the 2, and Rozier. So, we'll have to see the Hayward status here for McGowan's. But if McGowan starts, I don't mind looking there at $4,600. There's definitely he's proven when starting this year that he could be productive.
Yeah, I don't mind it. He has shown that he can play. They threw him right in, so I totally. Again, it's that game that has the big total. We already know if those guys are all ruled out, he's probably going to end up being chalky as is. So it's kind of one of the things that do you want to play that chalk or not? So if you at that price, I feel like you almost kind of have to, especially if we do get those injury news and we do know those guys are out. It's going to be hard not to.
Small forward here. LeBron James is in Jason Tatum, 10-3, 10-2, both dual positional eligibility at the small forward. Power forward position. Scotty Barnes has point guard small forward eligibility at $9,300. Kawhi Leonard, also small forward, power forward, up to $8,700. Any interest in spending up over $10K for JT or LeBron here?
Obviously, we want to see, how this game goes tonight with Boston. If Tatum doesn't play a ton of minutes, which, if this game stays close, he's likely going to, especially with them being down KP, being down, a guy in the front court there. But if he doesn't, and this is a really good spot against Sacramento. He matches up well with that front court. Sabonis really isn't just a huge body. So Tatum could actually probably hold his own down there, and I kind of like that. Don't know if I want to pay the 10-2 for it. I think it's kind of one of those that's like it would probably just have to fit my build more than anything. But yeah, I could probably pay it. I probably wouldn't be, if he plays 26 minutes tonight for some reason, blowout, or if it just gets out of hand, whatever. I think I could get there.
Yeah, I'm with you. LeBron's obviously always in play. Guy just comes back, triple doubles against the Knicks. Ridiculous what he's been doing. Kawhi, again, George and Leonard are both having really good games against the Pacers. It's just that James Harden just shut the door on that game and limited him 27 minutes. He had 28 actual in that game. This one's a lot more competitive. Certainly could see Kawhi go off. Hasn't had a ton of success against Dallas here on the year, but the way he's been recently playing, much better form than they had earlier in the year when they faced off. So don't mind Kawhi here at $8,700 either.
No, I don't. I don't know if I'll probably pay that for him, even though I do like the spot a little bit. But it seems like the front courts have not generally done that good against Dallas lately. It seems like they've been playing really well, even though they started Powell last game. I don't know if it's maybe the pace or if it's just the fact that they don't get as many possessions with Luka getting every possession, and they're just not. Yeah. I don't know. For some reason, it feels like the front courts have not fared well against Dallas lately, so probably wouldn't try to get there.
Mid-tier here, Laurie Markkinen, $8,300, went for 41 fantasy points on a double-double there against Brooklyn. Hasn't cracked the 30-minute mark since he's returned. I don't know if that's due to just the fact that they've blown out 2 of those 3 games, or maybe they have some level of limitations on him as he comes back from the injury, but that's something to at least pay attention to. DDR at $8,100. Franz Wagner's down here. Mikal Bridges. Jaime Jaquez up to $7,100 for him. That's $1,000 bump.
They knew Butler was out.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, I don't love that bump on Jaquez. I don't love it at all. The interesting thing is Mikal Bridges is basically like becoming like a second or third option, it seems like, on that team with the emergence of Cam Thomas, with Dinwiddie playing really well lately. That's really crazy to see because he was like alpha all last season. First of the season he was playing alpha, and now he's kind of sitting back. I like the Markkinen. I think that one's probably the best spot out of this range right here, out of the from the 8.4 to down to the 7K. I do think that he will see probably 30 plus minutes as long as this game stays close. It is kind of a revenge spot there going back to Cleveland. DDR, I think that's really tough. That's going to be a really tough spot against the Lakers, even though he does have them at home. But I think I would probably go Markkinen.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Markkinen could be in a really great spot. Gordon Hayward against Indiana, obviously there's a little of the narrative there. He wanted to be traded to the Pacers. Celtics never got him there. Instead, he ends up landing in Charlotte. $6,900. He's been having a really strong season. So if he's active in that game spot, I really like Hayward at the $6,900 price tag. And then we kind of got a lot of guys we've already discussed. One we haven't talked about yet is RJ Barrett here. What's your thoughts here on RJ at 6,200?
RJ is kind of one of those guys that is a glue piece. He's going to play heavy minutes, but he's rarely going to get you over 30 fantasy points. And you can see that in his game logs. He's hit 30 a few times. He had a nice little string there where he was in the 34, 38 range. But the majority of his games have landed between like 25 to 28, 22 fantasy points. So at 6,200, you're really looking for like a 35 pointer. 30 at least. Yeah. And this is just not a guy I feel like you're going to consistently get that from. So don't love the price, more of a tournament play. And obviously that whole team is dominated by Brunson and Julius.
Yeah, I agree. There's definitely some, need him to really give you the extra stats there to get him there. One of my favorite plays, we talk about him all the time on the show, talk about him in the Discord. Usually the Discord's upset because they they see him get off to a slow start because he's a bench sub. He doesn't start the game. The rotations get a little wonky. But the man plays the entire fourth quarter in games that are competitive. Got over 30 minutes again, and voila, 36 fantasy points, 14-8, 2, 1, and 4 steals. Going up against Atlanta here, pace up spot. I love Tyler Easton here at $6,100.
Yeah, just like you said. I mean, he's kind of emerged. He's he got some extended run there against the Spurs, against Memphis at home, put up a couple 40-pointers. And then from then on, he's just basically claimed that kind of six-man role that kind of like a carousel hurt. Like he's going to come in, he's going to play a lot of the end of that second quarter, and then he's going to play a lot of the third and the fourth. And most of the time, he's probably going to close the fourth. So you want that, and you're looking at rotations, you're looking at, popcorn machine, you're looking at seeing when these guys come in, when they exit, who closes, who doesn't. I know Grande likes to talk about that a lot, and it's very important. Easton getting that extended run at the end of games, especially if they stay close, which I feel like this game should, particularly Atlanta's been good. I mean, they beat Toronto not too long ago pretty handily. I feel like this game should stay relatively close. It will be a pace of spot like you thought, or just like you said, and right around the 6K mark. I feel like it's a really
here's Tyler Easton, right? Tyler Easton re-entered the game 7:24 in the third quarter, and he never came off the floor. He played the entire fourth, and he played all 5 minutes of overtime. Didn't do anything in overtime. He went 0 for 5 shooting in 5 minutes in overtime, but still, he played essentially like 20 straight minutes in this game. But that's consistent with what he does. He plays the entire fourth usually. He plays half the third. So don't be bothered by the 7-minute, 8-minute first half stint that he has, because he's the guy that is just getting all the late run in these games and could play more if other foul trouble guys end up happening here. So,
and his defense has been amazing. Yeah. I mean, 4-2-2-1, 2 steals in his last 5 games. I mean,
a first-round pick last year, mid-round too. He's not some scrub, not some second-rounder.
No. He was very highly touted. I mean, he coming out, everybody was on him, saying he was going to be that next big stud for the Rockets. And I mean, it's finally he's coming along now, which is good to see.
Someone that James loves to play, and I don't mind him either, is DeAndre Hunter. He's going to be the opposite man of that Tyler Easton spot. Again, not a great pace play for him going up against Houston, but the minutes are going to be there given that rotation that they have in Atlanta. We've talked Hield and Brown. Torian Prince is up to $5,600 now all of a sudden, just playing Boku minutes, but the production's not matching that price point. Fontecchio playing around 25 minutes a night. Again, a price bump for him. Not really loving that. Anybody in this range for you? That's us.
I mean, Dylan Brooks has been playing good. He's playing 35-plus minutes in his last 38, 35, 40 minutes. He's put up 38, 28, 25 fantasy points in really kind of tough spots on the road. And, now he's back at home, and he's going against a really shooter-friendly team. Yeah. So I think, I could get it, Brooks, at 5.4.
I like him a lot in that spot as well. Don't really care for Isaac Okoro. I know the minutes have been there, back-to-back good games, but I don't know. I feel like I'm scarred. Too many times I've seen Isaac Okoro do absolutely nothing in the playing time.
He's there for his defense. He's like Cam Reddish. He's a 3-and-D. But Cam really doesn't shoot threes. He's just really there. He really starts because of his defense. He's very good on defense. So Okoro's just one of those guys that is just a low usage guy that you don't really want to play in fantasy.
Derrick Jones Jr. only got 24 minutes in that game. A little bit surprising because he had been playing a bunch of minutes when guys had been out of their lineup. So I don't know what the exact reasoning for that is. But it scares me a little bit off him now at 5K, because when he's playing 30 and 33 minutes, I was more than happy to pay the price tag for him. We'd carry off the floor. But, what's your take here for Derrick Jones Jr. In his run?
It's a tough spot. He's kind of a low floor guy. Kind of the same thing we just talked about with Okoro. He's more known for his defense. More known for, 2 steals. He's had 2 steals in 4 of his last 5 games. That's, it's hard to play those guys at a 5K because you need 25 fantasy points. You need him to do a little bit of scoring. You need him to grab some boards. Hopefully, dish a dime or 2 at least. And, that's just not really something that he's been doing consistently. And rebounds is something that he was usually, when you look at a lot of his older games, he was getting 4 here, 4 here, 4 here, 8 here. And then his last couple have just had like one rebound. And the Clippers are a really good rebounding team. So I don't love the spot.
Yeah, I agree with you. Power forward position here, up at the top, some guys we've discussed. AD with the dual positional eligibility against Chicago at 10-4 here. Karl-Anthony Towns, $8,800. Julius Randle, 87. Pascal Siakam, 86. And Miles Bridges should be back here, $8,500. Porzingis, 82. A little price bump for him. We expect him to potentially play. Boncaro, 8K. So rounded off for like 8 guys there. If you had to, outside of Anthony Davis, as we always know, you can play AD. Thoughts on the 8K tier?
And Anthony Davis is from Chicago, by the way.
Go,
so
little home narrative.
Little coming home. Yeah, a little coming home narrative if you want to throw that in there. But yeah, Davis obviously loved that spot. Randall, I think, is in a good spot. Brooklyn has not exactly – they don't have the biggest front court. So I feel like he could kind of have his way down low there. We know that they still, don't have Mitchell Robb. Isaiah Hartenstein is more just a rebounder, defensive player. So yeah, Randall had a really good game against the Lakers. Obviously, we know that's a tough spot to play in. So I like Randall. Siakam has been playing extremely well, but this is just a rough spot. Aaron Gordon is one of the better, fours as far as defensive wise goes. Bridges being back in Indy, that's probably one that we're going to want to target. We know that he's going to play. He did get a huge price bump, but we know why. I mean, and obviously if they have those injuries, if Hayward does happen to sit again, Hayward is a decently medium usage type guy. So that's going to go somewhere. And yeah, we know that he has chances to get double doubles on just about every single night. Had 10 rebounds in his last 2 against the really stout Philadelphia and Pelicans rebounding teams. So, knowing that he has that option, he can get a block or 2, a steal or 2. He's kind of got the whole package, so it's hard to not like him, even though his price did go up immensely.
Yeah, if Gordon Hayward was to sit tomorrow, Rozier's got the 30% usage rate. Bridges has a 27% usage rate. Brandon Miller, 25% usage rate. That's with Hayward and LaMelo Ball off the floor. Obviously, those would be 3 guys we are keying in on. All of them are around a fantasy point per minute. Rozier does get the highest bump there to 1.25. So would be great spots. Obviously, the matchup against the Pacers is elite here. Caleb Martin, power forward only now. That's kind of interesting. $7,300 for him. Keegan Murray against Boston, not my favorite spot here.
No, even though he has put up some monster games lately. But, again, they were against 2 really bad defensive teams, Washington, Utah. So, yeah, the Boston,
we'll see who's in or out, I guess, for Boston, right? In this spot. Right. What other power forwards for you?
Looking down a little bit further, I don't know what happened with John Collins. I know they don't like
got
him.
him on the bench now.
They're just like they're trying to basically shell him off and get him off the team. So don't really love the price on him. PJ Washington, I know obviously we've already talked about Charlotte immensely a lot in this this show, but it's hard not to whenever we're talking about guys that are going to have to play big amounts of minutes and they're playing in one of the best game environments on the slate. Jabari Smith. He's been playing extremely well. Had a pretty rough game last time out, 23 minutes only. Just shot 2 of 7 from the field. But if you look at his prior games, he was above 25 fantasy points there in probably his last 7 or 8 games. So 6,100, it's a little bit higher than you probably want to pay. But however, like I said, it's a good spot against Atlanta.
We got 30 minutes out of Obi Toppin. Miles Turner obviously was out of that last game, and Miles Turner is out again. Could see some extended minutes in this front court for the Pacers. Obviously, Isaiah Jackson played a lot of minutes. Toppin played 30. It would be a pretty good matchup for them against the Hornets here.
Yeah, totally agree. Like I said, most all the Pacers and probably Charlotte. Probably definitely. Yeah, it's kind of hard.
5,300 for Aaron Nesmith. He's played 24 or more minutes in 5 straight. He had 33 fantasy points in that game against the Clippers as well. Would be a good spot for them going up against Charlotte here as well. Any value power forwards for you?
Really, I don't really see just a ton. Dean Wade, I think is interesting. He's only 48. He put up a couple of decent fantasy games.
Paul Watson's had a couple of good games lately. I'm not really sure why that's been the case, but 38 and 28 in 2 of the last 3.
24 minutes, 25 minutes, 23 minutes. I don't know if it's more the fact that
blowout related, maybe
Denver.
If Aaron Gordon's out,
Yeah.
maybe Peyton Watson gets more minutes here.
Yeah, I did forget that Aaron Gordon was out this game. That definitely
he's
changes
questionable
things.
for this slate. So
Okay. Well, yeah, if he's out, then obviously I could definitely see.
yeah, we'll obviously have to see what the rotation ended up looking like there. But just pointing out that it's clicking around. Obviously, he's had some decent games here. Let's move on over to center, and then we'll make a lineup and get to it here. Embiid and Joker both up here, but Embiid has finally overtaken Jokic in pricing. He's coming off of a 71 fantasy point game, back-to-back 70 fantasy point games. We always say, what's going to happen when JoJo plays a competitive game? Well, he went for 70 against Charlotte. I'll go here. Jokic, only went for 32 there in 27 minutes against Dallas. Blowout in that one against Toronto in this spot. If you are spending up, if you had to pick one, you going Embiid or Joker?
I'm probably gonna have to go. Even though Jokic has not played well, I say he's not. Right. He has. He's played good. I would probably have to go him just for the sheer fact that Toronto is not that big in the front court. We know that, and I'm pretty sure I haven't looked at it, but just from recent memory, he's had some pretty good games against Toronto. So probably gonna go Joker.
Fine with it. You have Bam here without Jimmy Butler against Orlando. Wendell Carter Jr. is not on the injury report for this game. So he is going to return for the first time in a while. What's your thoughts on Bam here? Obviously, he has a big usage bump and fantasy point per minute bump without Butler on the floor.
Yeah, I like it. I honestly think that's somewhere you can easily get. I think that's a good spot. Orlando has been a little suspect at the center spot, even with Goga or whoever they decided to play there. Even though Goga was really, I forgot somebody posted it the other day, but he was like in the top 3 of like defensive ratings individually, which I found was
he's a big man,
surprising. Yeah, but Bam is, we know he's a totally different level. Mm-hmm. He's not only great on the defensive side, but he can play really good on the offensive side. So I got no problem.
He makes his return after missing a month and goes for 40 against Minnesota. So in a game that Butler and Herro both played. So he just stepped right back into being an elite option there. Şengün against Atlanta here. Again, Şengün back-to-back 40-plus fantasy point games. He's kind of been ebbing and flowing a little bit. I think the big games from the others around him have sort of cut in a little bit to his production. So, but still not a terrible spot for him at 86. Vucevic, Gobert in this mid-tier, not my favorite spots for either. Going against Anthony.
No, this has been playing extremely well.
Yes, the Anthony Davis one. Sometimes I overplay the defensive matchups, but maybe he just plays through the AD matchup anyways. He just had 43 against Joel Embiid. So, what is it?
Right. That's what I was about to say. Like, I would say Vuce would probably be the exception here at the right below, shade below 8K. I just feel like that's a fair price, and I feel like he can.
Yeah, I know that's a great call out by you. Miles Turner, if he's in, he's got this matchup against Charlotte. I always feel like Turner lets me down when the world is in on him. Didn't have a great game against Charlotte the first time around. Would you play him in this game if you're building lineups?
Probably not. I just feel like I don't know. Just looking at the center spot, just looking as we are looking now. I know it's a first, and it might change, but right now,
because below him,
I feel like that's the chalk I want to have.
You got Kessler, you have Zubaks, you have Richards.
Right. Even Capella's put up 40 plus.
Yeah, Capella's been a really strong play.
Actually, he's put up 39 in 4 of his last 5. The guy's actually smashed.
Revenge too, right?
Yeah, exactly. And Houston, if I would say Şengün is good, but he's not exactly a big, tall, lanky body. I mean, he is, but he's not like a big, sizable guy. So I feel like Capella could definitely own the glass. And, I feel like this could be a decent spot for Capella that probably nobody really goes to.
I'm surprised that nobody, LeBron James just popping up as questionable, along with Anthony Davis.
We knew that already.
Every slate, they are questionable. So 6K guys are the usual suspects here. Claxton, Kessler, Richards, they're all going to play minutes. They all have the upside to be impactful here. Here's a new one though. Gabe Vincent is now probable for this slate. So,
finally came back.
Yeah,
from his
we're
knee
getting some depth back in that point guard rotation for the Lakers here. Not that we're gonna play him, but maybe if like D'Angelo Russell gets ruled out or something, he gets some minutes there.
Right.
Under 6K, you got a favorite?
Hartenstein. Okay. I mean, Sims got in early foul trouble, then he got injured yesterday, and then he didn't come back. So, Hartenstein could be in line for a start here, and he's played 30 over pretty much 29 plus minutes in his last 4. 27 more fantasy points in his last 3 straight. Put up 41 against the Lakers last game. I mean, he had a really good game, and this is a great spot. Brooklyn, like I said, Claxton is definitely exploitable, so definitely like that. Don't think I'll be going to Wendell Carter. I don't care if he's
Isaiah Jackson's interesting.
I'm not going there.
25 minutes for him in that game, 5,700 now, but get Charlotte.
And if Turner comes back, I mean, how many minutes?
Yeah, right. I mean, obviously, this is only if Turner's out.
Right.
There.
I agree.
Anybody else for you, though? Not really, right?
Not really, no. I don't think there's just anybody. If for some reason your boy Cueto, for some reason, if everybody's out, I mean, he probably might get a start. Might, maybe see more than that 15 or 16 minutes. Dwight Powell is interesting. He got the start. He's played now 22.
What did Rashawn Holmes end up doing in that game? He played just 6 minutes. Okay. So
yeah, I was gonna say I think they kind of went away from him as being that. I know he was getting around there for a minute and then just all of a sudden quit. So I'm guessing that they kind of decided to end that project. But Drummond's always an interesting candidate. I know he doesn't get the minutes, but we know
this is an interesting one. Jalen Smith was at practice on Tuesday. Okay. Again, super aggro floor minute rotation for him, but wildly monster fantasy point per minute production. So
yeah, he is. Yeah, I totally agree there.
So if he finds his way back, it could be an interesting tournament play.
Other than that,
all right, let's build a lineup here, Sean. Where do we want to begin?
I say, where do you want to begin? Probably with.
Are we spending up? Do we like the point guard position more or the center position?
Do we want to go ahead and just start with a chalk and go with a Charlotte or a?
Let's
go with Rozier.
Let's throw a little Charlotte in our lineup here. Rozier. Let's see. What else do we think we're gonna do?
On the Indiana
maybe
side,
Toppin.
You think is probably
54.
Toppin's a good cheap piece. I think that would work good.
All right, sweet.
Could even look at PJ Washington or something like that and cheap Charlotte too, but we don't have to get too antsy.
Let's see. Shooting guard. Let's see. I like Tyrese, and I'm just gonna go down and plug my boy in at small.
Yeah, that's completely fine.
Shooting guard here.
Let's see. There wasn't. I mean, shooting guard's probably one of the weaker, and I mean, I don't know if we want to just plug Herro.
Yeah, I was gonna say you could do that or go value it quickly.
I'd probably rather pay for Herro.
All right, we go Herro here with no.
I know we're gonna have to find some value.
Would you rather Herro or Bam if you had to pick one without Butler?
I think I would rather go Herro.
We'll go Hartenstein at center then.
Yeah, I don't mind Hartenstein. We could punt center a little bit. He should start. I mean, I don't see why not.
So we got 5K play here. Let's see, where can we find some value again
for guard?
Wasn't a ton of value. We talked a lot about that here.
Yeah, we did. Gary Trent is interesting. Caruso.
Yeah,
5.1.
Caruso works. Let's go Caruso.
Yeah, Caruso looks good to me. For a forward. Who do we? Dean Wade, if you want to go cheap. I thought we had talked about somebody else that was.
You got Norm. Would you do Norm at 54?
Yeah,
that gives us a 45 util. Let's see, what do we got for 4,500 util? Dwight Powell, I guess. All right, starts at center. If you wanted to just low floor, we could go a GPP play with like an Andre Drummond at $4,300.
I mean, I wouldn't care going with a Drummond. I think it. We could see him come out there.
I mean, 19 fantasy points in 14 minutes against Philly. I mean, this is what this guy's been doing all year, right? So,
if you get anywhere near 20, you're pretty much free.
I agree with you. All right, we'll go tournament style here. Rozier, Herro, Eason, Toppin, Hartenstein, Caruso. and Norm Powell. Sean will have your playbook for everybody on Wednesday. Get us in the Discord. Find us there. But for now, everybody, good luck with your early roster builds, and we'll catch you later.